Hi. For those that know me, this will explain a little, and for those that don't, this may explain a lot. Right, this is weird. Okay, my biological father passed 3 months before I was born. Yesterday was the 30th anniversary of his death. I'm the middle child of three at 29 years old. I had a very loving mother who cooked and cleaned for both me and my brother, mainly all on her own. I also had very loving grandparents who I think was the core of our family for a long time. Whenever there was a family birthday or the rare occasion we would all see each other at Christmas, we'd all go round to my grandparents and spend the day there as a family. These are some of my most treasured memories as a child. My brother's dad remained a close friend of the family until his passing in 2010. He was the only real father figure that I ever had, but he wasn't with my mum anymore, like as in a relationship. So I didn't really feel like we were related when I was growing up. He taught me the most things and would even encourage me on the things that I thought was lame or not worth doing. I remember one time explaining that I had made a new friend, a female friend at school, and rather than saying girlfriend, I went on to explain the difference between the words as if they didn't know already. And he acknowledged me that it's good to point out the difference, or like, what do you mean? Something like that. And it always stuck with me because I remember at the time going to explain it, feeling like it would be really tedious and pointless. But his words of encouragement made me go on and explain the difference. He was the first parent to give me pocket money once a week as well, because my mum couldn't afford it on her own. Like I said, she was raising me and my brother mainly on her own, with not any money in the family or anything, not a rich family or anything. So it's a paycheck to paycheck type scenario, as it still is. When my mum met a new partner, I was pre-teen years. I had a lot to learn. I had a feeling this new dominant male figure in my life would help replace that feeling of missing out, or whatever it is that I had felt that I had been missing. He seemed nice enough at first, seemed to take a shine to me and my brother. However, when my mum got pregnant with his first child, things started to change a little between us. His relationship with the rest of my family also started to change. He used to talk to my brother's dad quite a lot, the usual blokey type of stuff, football and football. As I mentioned before, his relationship with the rest of the family started to change as well when he had his first child. But it was apparent who was the first to see the negative side of this man. My brother's dad no longer received the same treatment as he used to. They wouldn't talk, as blokey as they used to. And me and my brother were now getting treated as if we hadn't lived in the same house as this man. If anything, we'd lived there longer. He would no longer speak to me or my brother. This was at an early age. I think I would have been 13 or 14. And we thought originally it was because he was devoting his time to his firstborn child, of course, and we didn't need the attention. We were adults-ish now. I was getting there. Over time, though, we realised it wasn't anything to do with our new sister. It was this man's attitude and personality. It had completely changed as soon as he had his own child, which is strange because before she was born, he told my grandparents that I loved them as my own, talking about me and my brother, which soon proved to be complete bullshit. My friends would even notice this strange behaviour of his when they would come round or even stay round. I soon stopped having friends round because of this. There was one time I had a friend staying over, and to wake us up the next morning, he threw a bag of VHS tapes into my room while we were asleep. Or it was like cassette tapes, can't remember. And I think it was because I'd left them in the hallway or something. But they were in a backpack, like it wasn't a mess or anything. But just think how fucking bizarre that is for a 14-year-old, right? You've got a friend staying around for the first time, and you're woken up by someone who is meant to be playing a father figure role in the house, and he's throwing a bag of fucking tapes in the room. My friend who stayed that night still remembers that night as well. I think he reminds me of it now and then, as like occasionally, and I'll be like, "Of course I remember that." Over time, though, it became obvious that neither me or my brother was going to get any recognition from this guy. I don't think my brother really had an issue with being acknowledged as much as I did. He was the quiet one. I was always looking for attention, trying to make people laugh and shit like that. Hyperactive ADHD, maybe. So it really started to affect me as a teenager, thinking I had caused this disruption in the family, in the household. I'd try and get out the house as much as possible, always be around friends' houses, always be looking for something new to do. I was bullied in secondary school. I moved to school around this time, year 8, I think. So it was a difficult teenage youth. I never really felt like I fit in school anywhere I went. I'd always cling to older male friends, either trying to live in my brother's shadow or just trying to get that sense of having an older male friend to look up to during this time. Because my brother was in a committed relationship during these years, so we wasn't as close, but we were still close, and we still got a good relationship. Whenever I would meet friends who had brothers, I'd always get this odd sense of trying to impress them for whatever reason. In some ways, I made an impression on people, and I know some people look back and remember some of the first days we might have spent together. I was always known for being funny. I'd get introduced to someone usually by saying, "This guy, he's funny." Because I was never a sporty person, never liked cars, never liked bikes. Couldn't pick a football team to support, so I really needed that father figure at an early age to give me some assertiveness in my life, some confidence. Growing up in my teenage years in a household that was relatively silent, it was hard to come back after like a hard day at school, or if I had some questions about life in general. I didn't feel like I belonged in my own house. I wouldn't ask my mum anything. I certainly wouldn't speak to my new stepdad. I use that term very loosely, as he is the furthest thing from a dad I've ever had. More like a prison officer, I'd say. Unfortunately, my mum is and still is stuck in the middle. As being a mum to us all, she hadn't stopped speaking to any of us. Treats us all equally with love and respect. Yet she is the one who has suffered the most. To watch your own 2 children get ignored by the man you supposedly love in the same household that you have lived in for 20 plus years just seems bizarre. That's why I'd give a little or huge backstory, because it makes no sense to anyone when I try and tell them. As my teenage years were coming to an end, I found an escape at around the age of 17. I could get served alcohol around my local off licence. And this is the first time I've admitted this publicly, but I would say every week since the age of 17, I've been either stoned or drunk. There was a brief break from drinking, and to be honest, it was so long ago I couldn't even tell you when. But here is where things get a little dark and definitely worse. and this is all true stuff, so if you don't want to hear it, then don't listen. I thought I had found an escape through drinking. It felt like every time I had a drink, I didn't have to think about what had I done at home to cause this problem. It brought out a new me that I didn't really know was there. Two incidents that spring to mind in this part of my life is going to an event at Hayes Football Club. My dad used to be the reserve manager there when he was with us, and I remember being drunk and seeing the plaque upon the wall in the stadium. Colin Morrissey, yesterday's treasures are today's memories. And I completely broke down, and this is when I realised alcohol isn't the best thing for when you're feeling upset. Plus, growing up at this time, it just seemed drink was the best thing to do, especially at this age, because whenever you saw adults or older friends at the time go out, it'd always be drinking related. Meet up, go for a drink, or you'd have pre-drinks at someone's house to go out for more drinks. It was like always drinking. Even for my 16th, 17th, I had got a bottle of JD, Jack Daniels, for those that don't know, from my girlfriend at the time. I almost finished the bottle and embarrassed myself and girlfriend at the time, who was at her best friend's party. I turned up drunk, and of course fear of missing out, and I was jealous. I don't even know why. It felt like I should have been there, and I don't know, I regret that night to this day. Apologies to all that was there. It felt like alcohol at this point of my life, I saw it as a stage of growing up. I thought I'd finally become an adult, Little did I know, this would be the beginning of the path to self-destruction that I've taken ever since I could buy alcohol. As I didn't want to spend any time at home with a family that I couldn't talk to, I would try to find people to drink with. It would often lead to drinking alone or finding an enabler, someone to drink with or encourage drinking with. We would encourage each other to drink, and if one didn't have money, the other one would cover for the other, and we would do that for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. When I hit 18, I'd already made plans to move away from my mum's home, as I had all this guilt of something. I blamed myself for this guy's stupid behaviour, for not talking to me or my brother's dad, my friends, and for what reason? If there was a problem, why not discuss it? If we are going to live as a family, let's talk about it and sort it out. But never was anything spoken about. The self-destruction path had already started. Moving out at 18 was a stupid thing to do, and I do regret it, but have met many people along the way. It got to a point where it was very hard for me to say no to anything. I was always looking for the next high, how many shots you can do, what's the latest you can stay awake, and stupid shit like that. Temporary highs that I'd always be trying to replace again the next day. My priorities ever since I've been able to buy alcohol is always to drink to forget, get high to forget. Erase your mind as your memories are nothing but pain. A lot of my close friends at the time would come round to my new place. I guess it felt like a place for them to get away as well. Although they all had much better family lives, it was still nice for them to get away from whatever problems they might have had going on. You could tell after time what ones would come round only when you were having a drink, what ones would come round to see you, and then over time it was literally a place for people to get drunk or high at. It lost its home meaning, the same as my whole outlook on life has been since things changed. You will know what I mean in the next few paragraphs. Unfortunately, around this time in 2010, my brother's dad passed away. It was a horrible time for us. It was the first funeral that I'd been to as a real adult. I was also living on my own at this point. My mum's partner didn't attend. They weren't talking before he passed, but you would have thought from the first time they met, or if he had any respect for the family, he would have made an effort. My brother's dad was quite a big part of my family and was really respected by everyone in it. Funerals are a strange time. The wake is usually where people get to reunite as a family again and share memories about the recently deceased. Then we usually go home and grieve a little with our close or immediate families at home. It was this day I now realise how important human connection is and having a close family really is. I went to the wake for one drink or two and got a cab home to my self-contained flat to get high. I couldn't go back to my mum's, nor could my cousins, etc., like we usually would have. It was an odd experience, as it has made me wonder why he is still around. Stepdad, that is. I had 2 or 3 friends around my flat looking after the place while I was at the wake. I knew I wouldn't be going to any immediate family's houses after. I kept drinking for countless weeks that eventually turned into countless months. I attended a friend's party and wore the suits I had recently worn to the funeral. It was an odd experience because I think I had turned up to the party already drunk. My opening line was, "Yeah, I wore this at my stepdad's funeral 2 weeks ago." And I said it to this girl I met that night, and I could tell she was a little taken back. We were sitting outside by the entrance, and I could tell she was a good listener though, and can confirm to this day that she still is. And yeah, I always remember that, talking about that, telling her I'm wearing this suit from a funeral. The good thing about having a good family life or a good home life is that things are consistent. You get fed regularly, you communicate regularly, you can vent about problems you have to your family. Even as a couple, you can achieve things like this. Routine meals, talking openly about things as a couple. So many things that are missed just by the method of communication. You can notice this with anyone. If they don't have a good relationship, you will notice they do things elsewhere to get their needs met. For example, when a partner comes home from work, they would like to usually vent about their day to their partner. If they don't, you'll notice next time you meet up with them, they will often talk about work, things that they don't talk about with their partner. So, if you take this theory, communication, father figure, never saying no, believing alcohol is a good thing, moving out at 18, you can see the recipe for disaster forming already. I kept moving around self-contained flats, dead-end jobs, not having any security on anything really. The only thing I wanted to do was get money so I could drink or get high. When my grandparents started getting ill, I really thought he would have stepped up his game as pretty much the only male left in the family. But no, still nothing. My granddad passed, he didn't attend his funeral. My nan passed, he didn't attend her funeral. But his parents did. What a bittersweet irony. This is the most of it all. And I think the thing that has pissed me off the most. His family, who I won't talk about much because why the fuck should I? They attended my grandparents' funeral. Now, usually after funerals, as I mentioned, it is good to grieve. I mean, shit, there's even a grieving process. It's not like something that isn't normal. However, he does talk to my cousins, my uncle, and my aunt. Yet he doesn't attend my grandparents' funeral or talk to my mum or me or my brother. So I will ask you, what the fuck are you doing? Also, does your family know that you don't talk to anyone in this family and that you're a fucking liar? When you take pride in pretending to be a member of this family and talk to my uncle and cousins, do you tell them that you don't speak to me and my brother and my mum? I'm sure they'd love to know that as well. Also, as for your stupid fucking brothers, tell them to stop talking to us as well, because I'd rather them not to talk to us at all than have to pretend that everything is normal when I haven't even spoken to you in 17 fucking years. See how it doesn't really add up? I saw your brother last year, actually, when I was going on a walk with your daughter, who does speak to me, and I'm not going to call her your partner. You didn't fucking do that. My mother. Yeah, I saw him last year, and yeah, he spoke to me, as do your parents. They spoke to me at my nan's funeral. So stop pretending to be a happy family. Stop being fake. Stop putting my mum through all this pointless shit, and let her live in peace. And can you let us be a family again, maybe? Because I know obviously you don't want to talk to anyone in this family, so yeah. Also, I didn't want to add this bit, but like I said, I'm only going to speak the truth, so sorry if you don't want to hear it. Your daughter, i.e. my sister, hasn't been raised right. Sorry, you're the one to blame for that. My friend actually used to teach her at Young Learners, I think, in Sainsbury's thing. And she used to think she was socially awkward. And I can't imagine why, being raised by a cunt like you. You've made everyone believe you're a good dad, but you've made this family worse. You've put my mum in more debt. You didn't speak to my family when she was struggling with breast cancer, not even 3 years ago. I was homeless and I couldn't move back to my childhood home because you still dwell there. No one likes you in the family anymore. If the rest of them knew what you were like, and I hope they do now after this video, they wouldn't want you in the family. Anyway, I know this probably won't do much, but thanks for being possibly the worst human alive. I think I've definitely taken the brunt of it and moved out blaming myself. And if you really must know, I struggle daily now with alcohol and drug addiction on a daily basis. So I'd like my family to talk to, because I can't afford therapy or anything. I've lost money every day since moving out, trying to catch up with all the things that I've missed out on. It's like I'm chasing something that will never end, plus trying to deal with addiction and stuff doesn't really work. But every day is a loss, so I hope you get what you wanted out of this family. But for me personally, please fuck off, so I can regain some fucking reality back.